On December 4th, 2022, Epic Games released their fourth chapter of Fortnite Battle Royale. Players launched into the brand new chapter, excited to explore the brand new map, battle pass, and new weapons. With this new chapter came a brand new mechanic called reality augmentation, more commonly referred to as augments. Now this is cool, but what exactly are augments? Augments are a game mechanic that when activated buff the player in some way. Every 2.5 minutes, the player was allowed to pick between 2 random augments and could activate up to 4 per match. If you did not like your choice of augments, you could re-roll them for 100 gold. Augments were a very good addition to the game and allowed every single encounter and match to be completely unique. One game you can receive amazing augments, completely altering the gameplay, and next you could get absolutely terrible augments. They allowed for interesting fights that you would not normally see in previous chapters. The augment choices were phenomenal, and almost every augment felt worthwhile. They were such a successful addition, loved by a majority of players, and it looked like it would only get better from there. Fast forward a few months, and augments became viewed very differently by players, eventually removed from the game entirely. It seemed like augments were destined for greatness, but then seemed to gradually dip off. They were supposed to return with the release of Chapter 5, evident in the files and early dev gameplay, but never ended up releasing. What on earth happened? Before we get into the details of why augments became so disliked, we need to go back to the start. Back when augments first released, they were extremely loved by many people. The reason they became so loved was because of how fun and different they were. All the augments felt worthwhile and didn't make it feel like you had a disadvantage when having certain augments. Some of the best augments were released in Season 1, such as Aerialist, Stormmark, Exotic Grab Bag, Refjector Seat, Forecast, Bloodhound, Peely's Plunder, and Keymaster. I won't explain what they all do, as that would take way too long, but I will put what they do on the screen when speaking about them. A lot of augments paired well with other weapons, making them even more viable. For example, the Bloodhound augment allowed you to mark people when hitting them with bows, DMRs, and the Excalibur rifle. They added an extra mechanic to weapons and the player, and made games so enjoyable. Augments also gave gold more of a use and made them such an important thing to carry. Paired with the heisted event at the end of Season 1, people were able to easily get the augments they wanted with the surplus of gold available. Every update added multiple new augments, and they changed the game a lot compared to previous updates. Over the course of Season 1, we got 13 new augments compared to the start. The augments at the end of the season felt completely different from the start. Augments were off to a good start, but that would not last for long. A few weeks later, on March 10th, 2023, Epic Games released Chapter 4 Season 2. With this new season, augments also carried over, along with 7 brand new ones: Dumpster Diving, Treasure Hunter, Slap Surplus, Munition Slide, Medium Ammo Amp, Shotgun Recycle, and Dignified Finish. We also had a few augments that carried over from Season 1, those being Light Fingers, Sniper Surplus, Aerialist, Chug Gunner, Jelly Angler, Bloodhound, Shadow Striker, more Parkour, and Keymaster. Over the course of Season 2, we saw 10 new augments added, and 8 be re-added. These 10 new augments included Rail Warrior, Aquatic Warrior, Go for Broke, Game Time, Spring Blowout, Tracker's Armory, Desperate Reload, SMG Sign-Off, Steady Hands, and Bluefish Angler. I won't name all the other augments that returned over the course of Season 2 for the sake of time, but I will put them up on screen. The augments in Season 2 were very similar to Season 1, and honestly I think all of them were pretty useful, and I can only see a few being underwhelming, such as SMG Sign-Off, Treasure Hunter, Rail Warrior, and Dumpster Diving. SMG Sign-Off was very unnecessary. I rarely ever needed to use a full magazine of an SMG, so it just felt useless. Treasure Hunter was barely ever used, same with Dumpster Diving, and Rail Warrior only worked in Mega City and a few landmarks. Other than those, it felt like every augment was useful, very similar to Season 1. It kept some of the really good augments from before, and introduced even more good ones, such as Go for Broke, Game Time, Tracker's Armory, Munition Slide, and Slap Surplus. Nobody really had a problem with the augments this season, myself included. Just a few weeks later, on June 9th, 2023, Epic Games released Chapter 4 Season 3, Wilds. With this new season, Epic added 7 new augments, just like Season 2. These augments being Primal Companion, Wild Wasp Weaponry, Sprint Lines, Shell Slide, Swift Shotgun Reload, Reckless Rifle Reload, and Medium Ammo Acquired. In addition to the new ones, 13 other augments returned and carried over from Mega. I won't name them all, but they will all be on screen. Over the course of Season 3, we got 11 other new augments: SMG Extended Mag, Mud Warrior, Heavy Headshots, Heavy Ammo Acquired, Thermal Mud, Splash Party, Shrub Mud, Roaming Redeploy, Pistol Recycle, Scoped Salvo, and Fire Armory. Over the rest of the season, only 3 augments returned, those being Tracker's Armory, Icy Slide, and Desperate Reload. Now, out of the 18 new augments, only half of them were considered decent or good. A lot of them were tied to the jungle, which is one of the most hated biomes of all time. Primal Companion gives you thermal when riding animals. The amount of times I have rode an animal in game is very low, and this augment is utterly useless. Same can be said for Wild Wasp Weaponry, which grants Wild Wasp jars upon activation and elimination. Wild Wasps are arguably one of the worst items ever, and one Wild Wasp jar per kill is an absolute joke. Sprint Lines was very limited to specific POIs as well as the jungle. Both Mud Warrior and Thermal Mud were tied to the jungle and were not very useful. Shrub Mud was extremely boring and was not helpful. Splash Party only gave you splashes on activation, so once used it became useless, and Scoped Salvo just was not worth it. Very few of the augments that season were good or generally decent. To top it all off, the bad augments were way too common and ended up clogging the loot pool. It was not easy to get a decent augment and would use up so much gold on rerolls. It's safe to say that the community was not happy with the state of augments, and Epic had to do something. On August 5th, 2023, Epic released their 4th and final season of Chapter 4, Last Resort. This new season introduced 6 new augments at the start, these new augments being On the Go Bag, Sniper Striker, Ammo Drop, First Shotgun, Pistol Salvo, and Fast Fisher. Along with those, 12 old augments returned and carried over at the start of the season, which will be shown on screen. On the Go Bag was a really good augment and made it easier to find mobility, such as the Rocket Ram outside of new POIs. Ammo Drop, First Shotgun, and Fast Fisher were also pretty good augments. Ammo Drop made it easier to find ammo, First Shotgun made hitting your first shot so much more rewarding, and Fast Fisher was very good for quick healing. Sniper Striker, on the other hand, was one of the worst augments ever. This augment made snipers give Siphon upon hitting someone. Now this seems like a good idea on paper, but unless you are using the sniper a lot, this augment is not very useful. To top it all off, this augment gives you a whopping 13 health per body shot and 30 per headshot. One of the worst augments ever, by far. Along with these 6 augments, we got another 11 new augments over the course of the season. High Voltage, Storm Chaser, Explosive Surplus, Jump Balloon, Reckless SMG Reload, Ninja Training, Marksman Headshots, Mythic Grab Bag, Trick or Treat, Revamped, and Witchy Warrior. 9 old augments also returned throughout the season and will be shown on screen. Out of the 38 available augments by the end of Season 4, I would say about 20 of them are good or somewhat decent. There were a few very good augments in the pool, such as First Shotgun, On the Go Bag, Mythic Grab Bag, Keymaster, Bloodhound, Game Time, etc. Despite those and a few other decent augments, it just felt extremely clogged, similar to Season 3. The good augments were not easy to find and took an extreme amount of rerolls. Augments did not feel very good, and it felt like Epic was starting to run out of ideas. Epic had to change something. Just a few weeks later, Epic Games announced Fortnite OG, a full month of OG Fortnite. Players said goodbye to Chapter 4 as well as augments in preparation for the OG season. For the first time since the start of Chapter 4, augments were completely removed from the game. After 1 month had passed and OG had ended, it was time for Epic to start fresh. On December 3rd, 2023, Epic Games released Chapter 5. Just like any new chapter, we got a fresh new map, weapons, mods, mechanics, and much more. But one thing was missing, and that was augments. Augments were nowhere to be found, and that left most players arguably surprised. Not to worry though, according to leakers, augments are actually set to return in the next few updates of Chapter 5, along with a whole brand new pool of augments. Surprisingly, these new augments were actually really cool, reminiscent of their first debut in Chapter 4 Season 1. A few examples include Water Rifter, which rifts you into the sky when going in fishing spots or water, Balloon Fall, which gives you a balloon when falling for 1 second, and Dragon Armory, which gives you a dragon shotgun and firebow. A lot of them also pair with specific weapon mods, creating even more cool combinations with mods. It's safe to say that the community was extremely excited. As the weeks went by, players patiently awaited for their return. Surprisingly though, Augments did not release in Season 1, so players assumed they would arrive with the first few updates of Season 2. Fast forward to now, in July 2024. We are currently 1 month away from Chapter 5 Season 4, and Augments have still not released and are most likely abandoned. It is unknown why Epic never decided to re-release Augments, but it is most likely the controversy it received in Wilds and Last Resort. Augments went from one of the most loved features of early Chapter 4 to one of the most disliked. It's no debate that Augments can absolutely be an amazing and loved mechanic, but it all comes down to the specific Augments themselves. The downfall of Augments is very unfortunate to see, and I'm hoping Epic gives them another chance. I strongly believe that Augments are good, evident in the early Chapter 4 Augments and unreleased Chapter 5 Augments, but they are ultimately held back by poor augment pools. What do you guys think? Should Augments return in Chapter 6, and what would you do to make them great again? If you guys enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like these, and tell me what videos you want to see. Anyway, have a great rest of your day.